Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Patriots Pulse podcast. I'm here with Andrew once again. We're ready to talk Patriots football. We haven't been on for a while. We didn't miss this week, but it's been a while since our last show. We're going to talk about the Niners game. We're going to talk about injuries. There's been a lot going on with the team. But before we get into it, Andrew, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's nice and cool here. How you doing?
I was telling you before it started. It's really hot over here on the West Coast. I don't like it. I wish I was over there. Yeah, I'm gonna put up with it. I'm gonna put up with it. But besides that, I'm still looking forward to Sunday. It's gonna be a hot day here, so I don't know. I don't know where I'm gonna watch the game and try to stay cool, but I'm really looking forward to Sunday to watch some Patriots football.
Yeah, I mean, they're starting 1-3 on the season. I think next week is definitely the week and definitely the week where you can get a win, especially with how the schedule looks for the rest of the year. Um, but yeah, it's gonna be like the Tank Bowl like last year, I think, but it's gonna be fun.
Yep. Before you even get into it, I wanted to ask, just because I kind of hinted at my demeanor, I guess you could say, for the weeks to come. Are you still excited to watch the Patriots every week? Because I am. I don't know
I
about
mean,
you.
I'm still excited. I'm gonna be excited no matter what. I mean,
Hmm.
unless it's kind of like the back half of last year where it's like post London game, Mac Jones got benched, and you're just like, man, this
Yeah.
sucks. But I
Yeah.
mean, every game they play, I can just think on the sideline, or remember that on the sideline we have Drake May sitting there waiting.
Yep.
So
Yep. I just
that's
wanted to
always
see where
nice.
your yeah. I wanted to see where your head's at in terms of the excitement level. Because I see a lot of people saying like, "Oh, I'm not going to watch this team until Drake May comes in," or "This team isn't worth watching until next season or in 2 seasons." But obviously, if we're hosting a podcast, it's because we we care about the team. We want to watch the team. But yeah, I just wanted to hear where you were at.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still going to be excited no matter what. Still my Patriots, still Patriots football. Not the brand of Patriots football we're used to for so many years, but it's still Patriots football.
Yeah,
And as long as it's on, I'm going to watch it.
exactly.
But so we got a news heavy week ahead of Sunday's game, and we're going to jump right into that. First off, with David Andrews and Caden Wallace both going to IR. David Andrews, obviously, that terrible injury, and then that's going to leave him out for the season. Caden Wallace, he's been battling with an ankle injury. He's going to go on IR. Gerard Mayo, in his presser today, said that there's a chance he could return this season, but obviously not great for your rookie offensive tackle that you were hoping could develop into a starter and show some signs this season. So that really sucks. Carlos, you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, obviously the David Andrews one, that one hurts. Like that was the one guy on the offensive line that everybody kept saying can't get hurt, and now he's out for the season. Just 4 games into the season. Um, we'll see how they I guess plug that hole, and it's going to be like a band-aid on a huge wound, to be honest. But that one really sucks. The Caden Wallace one, I think you put it out there in like the best way possible. He's the rookie that you wanted to develop, and now he's not going to be available for you. I know Ian Rappaport did say something of like, I forgot how he worded it very oddly, but he pretty much said that he's going on IR for a minimum of 6 weeks. I don't know if that's him knowing what the ankle injury is and it's projected that he'll come back in 6 weeks, or he just threw out the number of 6 weeks. I'm not too sure why he said 6 weeks, but we'll see if he comes back. Like you said, Gerard Mayo said there's a good chance he will come back. But I'd give it 6 weeks just going off of Rappaport's reporting. But they need offensive line depth. They can no longer just keep saying, "Oh, we'll take a look at that when we need to," and just like the weird little comments that Gerard Mayo would make whenever people asked him about it. Now they have to sign somebody. There's no way they can, or at least elevate somebody from the practice squad because it's getting thin, and they're still battling injuries from guys that are quote unquote healthy. Um,
Yeah.
so it's a mess right now. So they need to do something about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not super high on any of the guys that are currently available in like free agency. I don't think they're going to make a true impact, but I think at this point, you can't keep saying we're fine with the guys we have now. We're going to continue to develop our young guys, but they need some depth stability there. I mean, they have so many injuries that are just piling up left and right, and you need some more depth there. I mean, it like
Mhm.
you need someone just for depth.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, I completely agree.
if the next four guys get injured, you got to put someone out there. It's
Hmm.
you just have to.
Yeah, they can't keep pushing it back over and over again. They need to do something about it, and it should happen either this. I doubt it happens this week just because it's already Friday. But if we don't get reports that they are working out players, or if they've checked in on the availability of certain guys around, I would give it the latest around this time next week. Then I have no clue what they're doing because there's no way that they can sustain going through the entire season with the situation they're in right now in the offensive line. And I'm talking about health
Yeah,
wise. I'm not just talking about performance. I'm talking about health.
yeah, no, definitely. But also, I also wanted to mention with David Andrews going on probable season-ending IR. Um, that makes Hunter Henry one of the new offensive captains. Gerard Mayo announced today. I saw a tweet earlier today from someone. I forget who it was from. So sorry if you're watching this and I don't remember, but someone said that it's the new Patriots captains is like the Madden curse. They just
Yeah, I
they
saw I
keep
saw a post
going
like that
down.
too of someone, like it was like a video of like a little kid all worried, and they said like this is Hunter Henry after finding out he's going to be the new captain. Yeah, hopefully you don't need to keep finding replacement captains, but that's a new thing, I guess. That's what's had to happen this season.
Yeah. And then some other offensive line news we have. So earlier today, again in the presser, Gerard Mayo said that Vidarian Lowe is close to returning. He missed the last two games with, I believe it's an ankle injury, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it was knee. It was a
Knee?
leg.
Right, right. It
Something
was
that has to do with his leg.
some on the. It's his leg, a leg
Hmm.
injury. But so that would be. I know people have a bad perception of Darian Lowe based off of last season, but he has shown improvement. I'm not saying he's a reliable left tackle or anything, but he is at this point in the season much needed. They need his return, and it's evident with how their offensive line is just falling apart due to injuries. Um, and so I think he would provide at least some stability when he comes back. If he's able to play this week, that's awesome. And then also Mike Onwenu, uh, I think it was Scott Peters who said this, the Patriots offensive line coach. He said that they ideally would like for Michael Jordan to not Michael Jordan, Michael Onwenu to play offensive guard uh, when the O line is set again. And Michael Onwenu did take reps at offensive guard in practice today, so we'll see how that plays out. Um, Gerard Mayo again. He compared the O line situation to musical chairs, just keep moving people around nonstop. So we'll see how that works. But I think Michael Onwenu is much better suited at offensive guard than he is at tackle.
Yeah, I mean, it's been pretty obvious. I'm not saying he's had just a streak of bad games, but it's pretty obvious that Mike Onwenu is a much better guard compared to a tackle. He's been filling in a spot that's much needed, so props to him. But yeah, like how you said, Scott Peters even said it. He's much better suited to play guard in the NFL. But not just that, he's also having to flip flop and fill in for injuries. It'd be best if he can just stick to one position and just develop there, but obviously that can't happen right now. He's only taking guard reps right now because City So and Layden Robinson were limited today. I'm pretty sure that it was Mark Daniels that reported that City So looked extremely or like very limited. I don't I don't know what that means, but it doesn't sound good. Um, we'll see what happens in terms of who plays guard this coming week or in 2 days. So we'll see what happens with that. But Michael Jordan also has been limited. Maybe he fills in at guard for Layden Robinson or City. So if either one of them can't play, um, just a just a mess right now. Most people, it's been pushed to the back of their mind, but Cole Strange is on IR or he's on PUP. He started on the PUP list, so he's someone that maybe if they do keep sustaining these interior offensive line injuries, maybe he can step in. But that's a ways away from now, so they need to figure out a solution for the now.
But if we are talking future, back in August, Rod Mayo said that when Cole Strange returns from his injury, that they would like to try him at center. So, just a brief little before we move on, brief little outlook to the future. What would your ideal Patriots offensive line be, considering David Andrews wants to return next year?
So we're going into so this would be like the 2025 offensive
Yeah,
line.
yeah. Like after the draft,
Yeah.
hopefully Calvin Banks.
Mhm. Yeah, I'll just say I'll start off with left tackle being first round tackle that like fill in whoever that is, whether it's Will Campbell, Kelvin Banks, maybe Cameron Williams, Emery Jones. There's a lot like even right tackles that could transition to left. I know people don't want that, but that could happen. But I would say first round tackle at left guard. I'd give that as like a competition between City So and Cole Strange. We'll see who can do better. Um, and then for center, David Andrews, obviously. Right guard would be Michael Nwenu. And then right tackle, I'd want them to sign a veteran free agent, like Patrick, I think his name is Patrick McCarry, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. McCarry. He's on the Ravens. Very versatile player. He's played all over their line. Um, he has experience at tackle. There's other veteran tackle options that are right tackle options that could fill in that role. They might not be studs and superstars, but they've proven that they can, sustain an offensive line essentially, or
Yeah,
like
he
keep that
certainly.
job in the NFL. So, I mean, yeah, that would be my ideal one. So it would be first round tackle, left guard would be a competition between Cole Strange, City So, center would be David Andrews, right guard Michael Nwenu, and then right tackle would be a veteran free agent. That's my hope for the 2025 season.
I think you can slide in Layden Robinson to that left guard competition. No,
Not right
okay.
now. Not right now. Just we'll see. It's tough because like Gerard Mayo really talks him up, and obviously he's not going to put him down in front of the media, but
Yeah,
he has some really, really rough moments, and his pass protection has not been good. I know he's only 4 games into his career, but it hasn't really changed. If I'm being honest, he's still allowing. I feel like every week he's allowing the most pressures out of any lineman, even if they
yeah.
have backup tackles in the game. So I don't know what his trajectory will be as far as an NFL career and like what position he sticks to or what side of the line he plays. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't exclude him from the competition, but I just think that City So and Cole Strange have a more established role that they could battle over.
Yeah, no, that's fair. He's got a lot of power to him. It's
Mhm.
just he needs to work on that technical stuff. I think he's got a lot of potential, though. It's just really hard to judge um, single guys out on the offensive line, just given that, like David Andrews, for example, he hasn't played up to his standard this season, but I think large part to that is just he can't trust the people around him either.
Yeah,
Like you
yeah,
gotta count for your guy, and you can't really do that
yeah.
if it's hard.
Mhm. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Um, yeah. So moving on, some positive news. The Patriots are going to get some PUP list returns. We'll see if they play this week. But of those 3 players, will be Kendrick Bourne, who John Mayo said is healthy and who seems healthy and seems on track to play for Sunday. I would guess.
Mhm.
And then also it was Marte Mapu. He would probably be playing safety, I think.
Yeah.
You think Marte Mapu is better at safety or linebacker? I got to bring that up.
Personally, I'd want to see him at linebacker. I just feel like there's not much he can do if he were to continue playing safety just because of Kyle Duggar and Jabril Peppers, both on extensions, both like established veterans. Like they have their roles, they know what they're doing. Obviously, if they get injured, that's when he could step in. Like Kyle Duggar didn't practice at all this week, so maybe that allows Marte Mapu to play and come back as a safety. But personally, I'd much rather see him as a linebacker, just for the things that they need in the modern NFL to be done.
Yeah, I can see that. But also, linebacker Sione Takitaki, he was listed as doubtful, but I'd
Mhm.
imagine he returns next week at some point. He'd be a really good guy to put back in pass coverage with Juwan Bentley out for the year and really helping Jelani Tavai fit back into his old role. Not saying that
Mhm.
Taki Taki's going to fill in for Bentley or anything, but I think it would take a lot of the pressure off of Tavai. But I did see it was on CLNS a couple nights ago. Taylor Kyles, I think, had the perfect like take on Marte Mapu. Obviously, maybe this week at linebacker, it would be better just to have depth there um, before until Taki Taki comes back. But given the Patriots' system and his skill set, um, is what Kyle said, and I completely agree with it. Um, that his skill set fits more of what like Peppers and Jalen Hawkins have been doing and Kyle Duggar do. They slide into the box from the safety position and they cover the tight ends and they play that way. They aren't like a designated linebacker. And I think that was just a perfect analysis of Mapu and what he can bring to the defense when he comes back, hopefully this week.
Yeah, I mean, Gerard Mayo said something similar too. Like he pretty much said that the modern day safety and like the role that Kyle Duggar, he mentioned them by name, like the role Kyle Duggar, Jabril Peppers that they play, they step into the box and they might not be listed or labeled as linebackers, but they play like a linebacker role in some packages. So Gerard Mayo, I guess you could say agrees with Taylor as well. But yeah, I could see that. Like, I totally understand where obviously where they're both coming from, and I'm not going to say they're wrong. It's just from like what the skill set that I wish to see at the linebacker position in particular is what Martin Mapu can do. That sideline to
Yeah.
sideline speed and kind of that physicality. So, I mean, regardless whether he's like a safety, plays into the box and still provides that, I'm happy with that. But yeah, his whole position and what he can provide for this team is still up in the air because he couldn't show it last season, and he hasn't been able to show it this season. So he's definitely the one guy that's coming off pup that I'm most interested in seeing, and that's also considering Sione Takitaki, who's a free agent addition that we have yet to see play in this Patriot system. So that says a lot. The fact that I really want to see Martin Mapu out there and see what he can do. But yeah, as far as like who's gonna play, um, I think Kendrick Bourne. There's a good chance he comes back and plays this week. I don't expect him at all to be a big part of the offense. Probably just get like a small percentage of the offensive snaps, but he did tell reporters today that he could have come back like for week 1, but he purposely took these 4 weeks on pup just to treat it like if it's his training camp and he can get back and get into the groove of things. So with that comment, that tells me that he is capable of playing this week. We'll see. Like I said, we'll see how much he plays, but I wouldn't be surprised if he was active. Sione Takitaki, like you said, he got listed as doubtful. We'll probably see him next week or in 2 weeks. He has that 21-day window, so he has to come back during that time period, or else he's out for the whole year. So I don't think they would have activated him without um, knowing what a timeline for his return would be. And then for Marte Mapu, he said that it's not in his hands. It's not his decision if he comes back this week. He said it's up to the medical staff. So we'll see what happens with that. I would be surprised if he didn't play, but same thing with Sione Takitaki. He has this week, next week, and I believe the following week after that to come back. So I would just say Kendrick Bourne seems to be like most healthy out of all of them.
Yeah, I would say so as well. I mean, Mapu's injury kind of came out of nowhere this summer. Like at the start of training camp, he was just taking mental reps the entire time, and at first we are like, "What is wrong with this dude?"
Mhm. Yeah, because he was he was taking reps normally, and then randomly he was just sidelined one day. So because he
Yeah,
took those small number of practice reps, that's why they couldn't place him on pup. That's why he had to start the season on IR. Um, he got listed with the calf injury, so now we know that it was a calf injury. But yeah, I don't know what's up with him. He's hopefully healthy, but it leads me to believe like, what if it's something that has to do? Like, I hope it's not. I genuinely hope it's not. But remember how like Christian McCaffrey got listed with a calf injury, then it turned into Achilles tendonitis, and now it's like
Yeah.
snowballed into something bigger. Hopefully, it's not anything related to like the Achilles, and that's why they're being so cautious with it. Obviously, the calf is going to be related to it no matter what, but um,
Yeah.
hopefully, it's not like a serious calf injury. I know it kept him out 4 weeks, but I hope that he's recovered by now.
Yeah. But another thing that came out this week, Gerard Mayo said it himself that Ramondre Stevenson, he's had a lot of fumble issues. He has a target on his back. Defenses see him fumble 4 weeks in a row, lose two fumbles 2 weeks in the last 2 weeks in a row, and they tell their coaches tell their guys target him basically, and so that led to someone to ask Gerard Mayo if they would consider benching him in favor of Antonio Gibson in terms of just securing the ball better. And he replied saying that that is definitely under consideration. So I wanted to ask you, Carlos, what do you kind of just make of this whole situation? And do you think it's maybe a little much to bench Ramondre right now?
I definitely think that something needs to be done, like a message has to be sent out. I know so many people have used their different analogies of like what Gerard Mayo might do if he doesn't, I guess, quote unquote, punish Ramondre. Like people have said, like, oh, it's like telling a kid don't do this, and then they keep doing it, and you just keep repeating it over and over to them, not
Yeah,
fixing the issue. Um, if I'm being honest, though, I wouldn't. I personally haven't taken much. I guess you could say I haven't put much thought or much. How do I word it? um, I guess you could say just power, truth to the words that Gerard Mayo said in terms of the running back
yeah,
dilemma. Um, I honestly think that's just him trying to like strike fear in Ramondre. Um, and obviously Ramondre should be like on edge, like thinking like, okay, I need to perform in order to keep this starting role. But I do think that was his way of kind of calling him out in the media, rather than actually thinking about benching him or starting
yeah,
Antonio Gibson over him. I know people have thrown out the idea, and I agree with it, that maybe we do see Antonio Gibson get the first drive on Sunday, and that's kind of like the message, like, look, like you didn't start the game, and if Antonio Gibson maybe does super good and he gets a touchdown or something, like he is able to prove that he can maintain being the starting running back in that first drive alone. Maybe they play the hot hand approach and they keep it like that just for that game. But I wouldn't put much into those comments, just because, like I said, I think that's just him calling him out in the media and just holding him even more accountable for the fumbling issues.
yeah. I mean, um, I kind of came in. I saw that, not thinking too much of it. Just I don't think they bench Ramondre. He's way too talented to just bench like that. Obviously, I do think Gibson does chip into his workload a little bit. Just Gibson's been an efficient runner this year.
Yeah.
He's shown that he can be reliable in the passing game, off of screens or just lining up on the outside even. But um, he showed that he can be effective, and I mean, I'm not thinking too much of it either. It's just Gerard Mayo trying to, like you said, strike fear into Ramondre just to get him right mentally with
Mhm.
securing the ball. But yeah, I do think Ramondre ends up starting, but that doesn't mean Antonio Gibson's just like not there. He's definitely a pretty significant part of the offense,
Yeah.
especially the backfield.
Yeah, considering like where the state of this offense is at, and if you want to take into account Gerard Mayo's previous comments of calling Ramondre Stevenson one of the best running backs in the league, I don't see how this offense can afford to bench one of the best running backs in the league.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of using his words against him, but that's the truth. Like they can't afford to bench one of the best running backs in the league, considering how bad their offense has been.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. And then also Tyquan Thornton came out. Who? I'll let you take this one over because I'm not. I forgot who came out with it. So just gonna let you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so a report came out this morning from Jason Laconfora. So a lot of people were actually replying and quoting to my tweet saying like that means it's not true. where people were joking saying like, "Oh, that means an extension's coming for Taekwon." So I don't know much about that reporter. He works for the Washington Post, I believe. Um, I guess, and it was a lot of Ravens fans actually replying to it, and it would make sense considering like the geography where the team's located. Maybe he reports on their team a lot, and he's not too trustworthy. But he came out with an article discussing different wide receivers that have been rumored to be available for trade. It was obviously about Devonte Adams. He spoke about him the most, but at the very end of his article, literally like the last sentence of one of the paragraphs said, "The Patriots have made it known that Tyquan Thornton is available for trade." So I honestly, I feel bad saying it, but like, okay, like like that was like my reaction. Like, I don't see anybody really trading for him. Someone put it
Yeah.
like they worded it really well. They pretty much said like, why would someone want to trade for one of the bottom of the depth chart receivers from one of the worst receiving cores in the league? I agree. There were, like I said though, a lot of Ravens fans were replying to me, and a lot of them were saying like, oh, we should trade for him. We should trade for him, and they were like genuinely serious, saying that they would want him on the team. A lot of people were suggesting Kansas City too, considering the receiver injuries. But it's honestly I don't put much into it just because I don't see anybody really trading for him. It sucks that if the report is true that in his third year, their second round pick is just going to be out just like that. He's already like pretty much out of the rotation, but it's what are you going to do about it? Like you try to get a sixth round, seventh round pick swap for a second round guy. I guess do that, but yeah, I would honestly see him being cut or waived um, before he gets traded. Like that, I think that's much more of a possibility, especially, and I mentioned it too, um, with Kendrick Bourne coming back because someone's going to be the odd man out. It's and at the bottom of the depth chart, it's Taekwon Thornton, Kayshawn Booty, and Javon Baker. I would assume that they have Javon Baker at the top of that list. Like they're not going to cut him, or
Oh yeah.
maybe I couldn't see that happening at all. And then Kayshawn Booty and Taekwon Thornton, that's kind of up in the air. Kayshawn's been I don't want to say consistent, but I feel like he's had more positives than Taekwon. So maybe that's why they keep him. But someone's going to be the odd man out. And with that report coming out like the week that Kendrick Bourne could be activated and put onto the 53-man roster, that makes me question if Taekwon's gone.
Yeah. I mean, well, that's what 4-2 speed does to NFL fans. They just go crazy over it.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
but but I mean, I really don't see anyone trading for Taekwon unless maybe like a seventh rounder. But even then, it's
Mhm.
like, do you really get much out of that at all? So it's like I, I'm not thinking too much about it because
Mhm.
I don't know. It's just I don't expect them to get anything. I don't expect them to really, like benefit from keeping him
Mhm.
in a way. So it's just, but I also I've seen some people like talk about how he's the second round pick from a couple of years ago. Like he has some type of like
Value.
safety, but yeah,
Oh.
with some type of value. But also like safety, but at the same time, that
Mhm.
was Bill Belichick's pick. That was not Gerard Mayo's pick,
Mhm.
and it's been said a couple times like the scouts have not always been on Bill Belichick's side with some of his
Mhm.
picks. Um, so it's like I feel like people from like players that were picked like Taekwon that high before the Gerard Mayo era. It's kind of like they don't have any special like safety valve because of how high they were picked because
Mhm.
Gerard Mayo didn't pick them. It's like
Yeah.
it's a new era. Like you guys better perform or you're gone type of thing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm
I
not
would
putting
see.
too
I
much
would
into it.
say. Yeah. No, I agree. Like, I wouldn't put too much into it. The only thing that I would think of is that they try their best to trade him. Like you said, like a seventh round pick. Like how much value do you get in return for that? Like that's maybe a guy that might not even make the roster next season. But I would only see them trading him if they genuinely want something in return. If they don't want anything in return, I could see them waiving him, hoping that he passes through waivers, and then I don't see why they wouldn't bring him back to the practice squad. Maybe that's their plan, and they go about it like that. They just risk him getting picked up by someone for free, essentially. But Yeah, I only see them trading him if they genuinely think that like a 6th round, 7th round pick is more valuable than having him on the roster for this year, and I would say like the offseason if he were to be on the practice squad instead.
Yeah. And then the final piece of news we have for this week, we had to bring it up. It's been going around Patriots Twitter like crazy. Um, so there's a rumor that came out that there's some drama in the locker room that Gerard Mayo has been losing the players, like, and the relationship isn't there with the players and the coaches. Um, Jabril Peppers came out. He did an interview with Mass Live, and he said that's bullcrap. Like, we're all behind Gerard Mayo. We all trust him. Mayo knows what he's doing. Um, but yeah, I just want to ask you, Carlos, what do you make out of all of this?
It's like there's a plane passing by. Um, so I think if I'm being honest, the whole like epicenter of this drama, like the locker room mutiny and them teetering on mutiny, the whole epicenter of it honestly bothers me because if you were to just watch that or listen to like the podcast in which that was said and like the way it was said and like the whole topic surrounding it, what they were talking about in the moment is pretty much what I'm trying to say. If you heard that originally and just over heard it over and over again, you wouldn't think much of it because he literally started, and I'll say his name. It was Evan Lazar. Like I'm like a big fan of his work, and I don't think he even said like I don't want to be hyperbolic, and then he goes on to say the quote. So he himself said like it's not like a literal thing that he's seen like in
Yeah.
person. Like he's literally prefaced it by saying I don't want to be hyperbolic, but and then he says that they're teetering on mutiny. So I just think that it was overblown to begin with, and then people. I honestly think too, it's a lot of Patriots fans like trying to grasp at straws for things to talk about and be excited about and like some like
Yeah.
think of it drama so like they enjoy that like
Mhm.
there's not much to talk about for the team on the field like their field performance so why not like latch onto this so I think that it was overblown but I will say the Patriots made it much worse by trying to scrub it and like hide the fact that it happened. That's what honestly made it even like a bigger deal. So, like I said, it wasn't as big of a deal as I thought it should be. Then Patriots Twitter kind of took over with it and then like, took it overboard in a sense. That's my opinion. And then the Patriots made it
Yeah.
worse by trying to hide it essentially. So, I know a lot of people were saying like if they're trying to hide it, that means it's happening. But like how you said, Jabril Peppers came out right away, said that's not true whatsoever. There was two anonymous quotes from other Patriots players that pretty much said that that's not true whatsoever. Like they said that's way false was one of the quotes. Um, I feel like that kind of ends the whole drama in a sense because obviously like even Gerard Mayo said it like obviously frustration is going to happen if they're losing, but like it's expected in a sense. So people are going to try to make stories. People are going to try to latch on to things, try to find negative drama because that's what gets clicks. That's what gets the attention. That's what gets engagement. But I feel like that was pretty much shut down today with Karen Gilligan's post or article and Sophie Weller's as well. She also interviewed Jabril Pepper. So I feel like that was shut down pretty quickly. It lasted not even 24 hours, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you on that, and I'm so happy that you brought that point up because Evan does great work on the
Mm,
Patriots staff, and I just feel like you said, this was blown completely out of proportion, and people not haven't really necessarily been coming at him, but some of like the
mm,
comments under his posts, like it's a little much, and like I feel bad for the guy right now. Like it's just that whole thing just blown out of proportion.
yeah.
But I am really happy that a couple vets in the locker room and like Jabril Peppers came out and said that because I feel like a lot of
Mm,
Patriots fans or not a lot, but some Patriots fans just they don't trust Gerard Mayo
mm,
right now just because of the way this season is shaping out with
yeah.
everything. And I'm just really happy that the veterans are sticking up for their head coach and that it shows that they still truly believe in him and that they're still riding with him.
Yeah. I mean, like, obviously, it's basic. I'm gonna use my for those of you who don't know, I was a psychology major. I'm studying psychology right now for my master's program. If we want to look at it from a psychology perspective, like basic human psychology, if and honestly, Andrew, you could probably like I guess you could say agree with it and see it as well. The people that don't trust Gerard Mayo, this was like their confirmation. And it was like confirmation bias. Like, let's latch on to this. This guy ignoring like the hyperbolic part before the whole quote. They pretty much said like, oh, let's back up Evan because he said so. Like he said this is what's happening. When in reality he said he was being hyperbolic. So I think, like you said, people that don't trust Gerard Mayo trying to latch onto it, you know, ride the wave of like negativity in a sense and pretty much just like prove so they could prove their beliefs and prove like what they were thinking and kind of say like look they are playing bad. That means the locker room hates Gerard Mayo. That means we shouldn't have Gerard Mayo here because we should have never fired Belichick. Like it's like I feel like it's just the compound of things um, from past events that people are just like so frustrated in a sense and just trying to find reasons to be negative and hate on this new regime and the organization as a whole.
Yeah, no, I completely feel you on that. I mean, uh, Evan and Barth get into some really heated comment,
Mhm.
like not comment, heated arguments of just about the team and about just football as a whole. And I
Mhm.
mean, they were just two friends going at it there,
Yeah,
and like you got to take what they say with a grain of salt. Just they're just two guys arguing about football. I mean,
yeah.
there's nothing there where Evan was like, "This is happening in the
Mhm.
locker room." Like I've seen this. Like it's just two guys going back and forth about football.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
blown out. So with that out of the way, just wanted to add that we're gonna. So I'm just gonna go over the injury report one last time to make sure we did not miss anybody. All right,
Do you want to
so
read
Kyle
everybody
Duggar.
that's questionable? Yeah.
Yeah, so only one doubtful, which is Sion Takitaki, but everyone else is questionable, and there are a lot of questionables. We mentioned Layden Robinson with Darian Lowe, but also Nick Leverett, who would be the Patriots' next center up with David Andrews out for the year. He's been battling an ankle injury. He's been limited in practice all week, so we'll see if he can play. If he's not ready, then the next man up would be practice squad player Brian Hudson. So no knock to Hudson, but really hoping Leverett can heal up quick for that. And also we mentioned Michael Jordan, Kendrick Bourne, and the PUP guys coming back. But also Kyle Duggar, he has not practiced at all this week. I'm surprised he's listed as questionable, given that it's been said by a couple reports that he's going to be out for some time, or likely will be out for some time. But nonetheless, he's questionable. KJ Osborne, who's been the leading receiver in terms of the snap count for this season, he's questionable. Has not practiced at all this week with a shoulder injury. Jabril Peppers also has been limited this week with a shoulder injury. We'll see if he is good to go for Sunday. Anthony Jennings, he missed last week's game with a shoulder injury. He's been limited. We'll see if he can return. Obviously, he would be a big boost to the Patriots' front defense, who's going to have to be on their toes against a backfield of Devon Achane and also Raheem Mostert, who is returning this week. Um, and then Jonathan Jones, he was limited with a shoulder injury. I'd assume he plays just because he pops up on the injury report, I swear, every single week. um, and then also Marcus Jones, he's been limited. I'd assume he plays also. But yeah, I think I got all the questionables there. There was a lot of them. Okay.
I mean, honestly, that whole list reminds me of I don't know if you remember last season, towards the last couple of weeks of the season, they had like 10 plus guys questionable every single game. Um, and it made sense. Like they were injury riddled by the end of the season last year.
Yeah.
Um, and that's what's happening right now. So they have injuries. Like, what are you going to do about it? If we want to go back to like what Jabril Pepper said about the whole Gerard Mayo locker room situation, he even said like there's been unforeseen circumstances that have pushed guys into new roles or bigger roles than they
Yeah.
had expected to play, and that injury report, that's proof of that. So, um, we'll see who plays, who doesn't. I would imagine, just like a guess off the top of my head, I would imagine that 10 of 10 of those, like 12, 13 guys end up playing, and there's like 2 guys that it's like, "Oh, wow, they actually are inactive." Kind of like an Anthony Jennings situation last week that most people didn't expect him to still be inactive by the time, game day rolled around. So, yeah, I would say there's about 3 guys that would probably be like a quote unquote "surprise," game day inactive, but yeah, I would imagine most of them play.
Yeah. And then just in terms of the Dolphins injury report, like I said, Raheem Mostert has been cleared. He's good to go. He's been out since week one. Also, Odell Beckham Jr. could be making his season debut against the Patriots this week. He's been a full participant throughout the entirety of the week so far. And I think that's really all for them. That's all that I really saw.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to include Jalen Phillips, who's now out for the season,
Uh,
they won't have to worry about him off the edge. So honestly, this could very well be the easiest matchup they have all season in terms of edge pressure. Maybe this is the best game that the tackles have, and we'll see Jacoby Brissett have plenty of time in the pocket, even more than he's been having. I don't want to get into that, but maybe he'll have even more time to throw the ball down the field and extend plays as well. Um, that's the other one that I could think of that's noteworthy. But yeah, Raheem Mostert being back, I'm almost positive last season he like gashed them up. I think it was their first meeting last season. He did really well against them if I remember correctly. But he's a veteran. He knows what he's doing. He might have been injured, so like with him being injured as of late, maybe he's like limited. Maybe he gets limited snaps. But him and HN in the backfield is no joke. That's a lot of speed. And if you want to include Jalen Wright, the rookie as well, um, he just helps their running back room like a little bit. Like I won't say like he's a game changer, but I'll say the same thing with Odell Beckham Jr. too. Like he's a veteran. He knows what he's doing. He was one of the best receivers in the league at one point. So he is like a somewhat of a difference maker. That's someone that they have to think about, someone that they have to discuss and
yeah.
game plan.
Um, Gotta ask, how are you feeling about? I think it's going to be Vidarian Lowe, assuming he's healthy, and Demontre Jacobs at the tackle positions. How I know you said this could be the week Jacoby Brissett gets some time in the pocket. Um, how do you think those guys would hold up?
So like yeah, like I said, I think this could be their easiest matchup. Honestly, if you want to talk about Vidarian Lowe in particular, he told reporters today that there's a good chance he's going to play on Sunday. Like he had a good week of practice, like he's
Oh,
feeling good. So he would most likely be their starter. I don't see why they would start Demontre Jacobs over him. Not that Jacobs did bad, um, but if you want to talk about Vidarian Lowe in particular, if he has a bad game against, I don't want to say backup pass rushers, but like not premier level like Jalen Phillips, for example. If he has a bad game against the Dolphins edge rushers that aren't like noteworthy, I guess you could say, um, that's going to worry me for the rest of the season. I know he's coming back from injury, and he might have some rust to work off, but there's no reason why they can't do well on the edge or like the exterior of the line on Sunday because I'm pretty sure Zach Seiler, the Dolphins defensive lineman. I'm not going to sit here and lie and say I know if he plays on the edge or if he plays on the interior. Judging off his like build, I would assume he's on the interior, but maybe he does rush on the edge. But regardless, he's like the one name that comes to mind that could cause issues. But I, dude, I hope Vidarian Lowe holds up. Like, there's no
yeah.
reason why they shouldn't. Even if Demontre Jacobs and him rotate, just because Vidarian Lowe can't play the whole game, I hope they play well because, like I said, this could be their easiest matchup all season.
Do you think Micah Mundy gets moved to right guard, and then
If
Jacobs is probably right tackle?
so, I hope, honestly, I hope not, just because I feel like Demontre Jacobs plays better at left tackle. I know we haven't seen much of him, but he's more naturally a left tackle. Like he has more experience playing left tackle. I don't want to keep having to flip flop people on both sides. Um, the only way I see Mike Onwenu play guard, I think they were just giving him reps at practice today in particular, just because like how they said, City So was extremely limited. Michael Jordan is questionable. Layden Robinson is questionable. I think Mike Onwenu could kick inside if there's an injury on the interior, or if someone doesn't go. So if someone like Michael Jordan and City So don't play, for example, I could see him getting kicked to the interior. But if there's like one injury during the game, and one of those other guys is already inactive going into it, then I could see Mike Onwenu transitioning into the interior. But yeah, I think Onwenu plays tackle, or he's going to play right tackle on Sunday. But like I said, it's just dependent on the injuries. I don't think they're really planning on him like making that permanent switch, regardless of everyone else's health.
I just can't get over that, the Michael Munyu getting reps at guard in practice.
Mm.
I think he's best suited there, and
Yeah,
I just really want to see him back there because he's had a down year compared to years past. I think I just really want to see him thrive again
yeah.
at guard. I want to see that. But anyways, we're gonna talk Pat's Dolphins a little more, take a little deeper dive. So just going into positional overviews, we kind of went over the offensive line already, just the possibilities of who can play, who can't play. Wide receiver, kind of mentioned Kendrick Bourne, um, maybe playing on a limited snap count. Hopefully, someone asks Gerard Mayo about that, so we get confirmation on that before the game. But if KJ Osborne is out, what do you see the rotation being like?
So if KJ Osborne is out, I would assume Jalen Polk steps into the X receiver position. Um, I do think Javon Baker gets a bump up, but I still think Keishon Boutte is above him in that and
Yeah,
on the depth chart. So maybe he does get some reps, but I think Keishon Boutte would be the one to fill in. Like as far as like the trickle down effect of who gets the snaps with KJ Osborne not being there. Obviously, if Kendrick Bourne is involved, that changes things as well. But yeah, I would say that I think Jalen Polk is the most obvious replacement just for Sunday's game. Maybe Kendrick Bourne gets some reps at the X spot, but yeah, I don't think with Kendrick Bourne coming back, it's not going to be like too many guys having to play a different role or move up in the depth chart just because he slots into it right away, even if it is on a limited snap count.
yeah. And what do you? I wanted to ask about your thoughts on just how they're kind of handling Javon Baker this year, because I know Alex Van Pelt's comments about him being a really talented receiver, but he still has to fine tune techniques,
Mhm.
his techniques and stuff, and that kind of re-sparked the conversation regarding him. What are your thoughts on that whole situation and how they're handling him?
I mean, he was a fourth round receiver. I don't like even if he takes this season to, I guess you could say, develop and learn the playbook even more, I wouldn't be mad at it just because they still have him under contract for 3 more years past the season. Um, Part of me thinks that maybe there's some stuff that have come up that they don't like, that they didn't expect, and there's like a reason why he fell to the fourth round. Um, I know Alex Van Pelt mentioned in particular like him lining up correctly. Maybe he doesn't understand the playbook well enough to this point, but yeah, I'm not too like I should say like I'm not too upset with how they've handled his situation, just because like I said, he wasn't like a high draft pick capital receiver that they brought in, and he was going to make like a
Yeah,
difference year one. Maybe when Drake May comes back or comes in to play, maybe that's when they start saying like, hey, let's play the younger guys more. But yeah, I'm not too upset with how they've handled his situation. I think I'm still confident that past this season he could make an impact.
yeah. I mean, I keep trying to reiterate, like Baker coming out of college, he was such an explosive player, just really athletic guy. He was a very raw prospect. He like
Yeah,
Alex Van Pelt said, like he perfectly described Baker as a player. Like he's an exciting playmaker, but he just needs to fine tune the details. Like
yeah,
I mean, like him coming out of UCF, if there was a scouting report on him, if you look up a scouting report on him right now, you probably see explosive, athletic, can climb the ladder on 50-50 balls. He's physical, but he's got to fine tune. He's good with in and out breaks in his routes, but just being more defined as a route runner. Beating press before his release, and just sort of those like techniques that Van Pelt was alluding to. And I think I still have so much confidence in him, and I think we just need to wait a bit. I was coming into the year thinking we were going to have to wait a little bit, but maybe we'll have to wait a little longer than expected. But nonetheless, we just got to be patient with him, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
But we got to move on. So, Carlos, what does New England need to improve on Sunday, given what we've seen the past few weeks, unfortunately?
So I would say that obviously they need to improve on the pass rush, and so the interior line. I would just say like defensive line, and as well as the offensive line. Those are two very obvious issues that they've been having. But yeah, I mean, even Christian Gonzalez kind of mentioned it in the interview he did with Richard Sherman. He pretty much said like the front seven makes his job easier if they get to the quarterback. So I like that is like a real trickle down effect. Like if the pass rush gets there, it helps the secondary out. And in this game in particular, with Snoop Huntley being the quarterback, I don't think that changes how good Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Devon Achane can be and how impactful they can be. So they still
Yeah.
have to be like on top of everything. But if the pass rush doesn't get to Snoop Huntley, he's still an NFL QB. He could still make NFL throws. Um, so that could negatively impact the secondary. So I'll say the defensive line has to step up the most. I know I don't want to say offensive line just because like injuries, like everyone knows what's going on with that. But defensive line in particular, they have to step up the most, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you on the pass rush. I think the things that they need to improve most on defense is the pass rush. I mean, pressure is great and everything, but you got to get the quarterback. You got to be able to contain him. I mean, Aaron Rodgers on that Thursday night
Yeah.
game, he was able to extend plays out of the pocket, and that was a big issue they had. And then 1 week later, the first drive, you see Brock Purdy on it was might have been back-to-back third downs. I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
On the opening drive, scramble for a first down because they couldn't contain him, and they
Mm-hmm.
need to do a better job at that. Veteran captain Dietrich Wise said that it's really just communication issues between everyone, and
Mm-hmm.
they need to figure it out.
Yeah.
And I also think just they've had an issue in the linebacker unit covering the middle of the field. They've like George Kittle leaked out multiple times against them, just uncovered the middle of the field, and he's just able to get that first down with an extra push. I mean, I think they really have to watch the hook area on the field better. I mean, that's kind of what they're giving offenses so far this year, but it's kind of hurting them a bit.
Yeah, I agree. Like the defense is really going to have to play good because, like, as much as we could talk about the offense playing better, the defense has to step up as well. They haven't been playing the best or up to expectations this season.
Yeah. And then offensive side of the ball, I think everyone can agree offensive line. It's just got to be more stable. Especially run game's been better than the pass game, but we didn't see that last week. They got to be better on both parts of the offense.
Mm-hmm.
And also just I think Jacoby Brissett needs to get the ball out a little quicker. Obviously, I'm not going to blame all these issues on him because that's not right. He's still that veteran guy that's going to protect the ball, and he's done a decent job at that. However, I do think he needs to take more shots, and he needs to throw with more anticipation. We haven't seen him throw with a lot of anticipation.
Yeah.
And he's also stared down targets. Like on that Fred Warner interception, he looked at the left side of the field because it was his first read, and he just stared down Taekwon. But then you look over a little further, Osborne and Douglas, they're wide open over there. Like, it's just little things like that that you don't expect in a veteran quarterback, and you'd expect him to kind of see that and make those progressions. But at the same time, I kind of understand, like, in the back of his head, he's like, all right, first read, I'm about to get hit. Like,
Yeah.
I, like there's not a whole lot I can do.
Yeah, I mean,
But
he's like I said it earlier, like he's had some clean pockets, and it bothers me just because he hasn't done much with those clean pockets. And I do want to preface by saying we can be critical and honestly negative about Jacoby Brissett's performance as of late, but that doesn't mean that I'm like harping for Drake May to play instead of him. I feel like you could those two things can be separate. Like you can criticize his play and pretty much like want him to do better without having to mention Drake May. I know it's like that's like the hot topic right now, but personally, I do think Jacoby could do better. Better. It's just that I don't know what it is when he gets those clean pockets. He like hesitates a lot. He pump fakes the ball sometimes. Like he doesn't seem confident in throwing, like you said, like sometimes with anticipation or in tight windows. When he's a veteran quarterback and he should be able to do that. So that's the
yeah,
only like gripe I have with him whenever he does get a clean pocket.
yeah. And I also think I keep reiterating it every single week. They need to win the time of possession battle, but they can't do that if the offense can't stay on the field and
Mhm.
they can't rely on the run game to push them down the field, which
Yeah.
obviously they can't do that every single week. They got to get the passing game involved. And
Mhm.
that is worse than the run game.
Mhm.
But just they gotta win. They gotta try their best with the time of possession battle, and they gotta bleed out that clock. I mean, it was completely lopsided in the Jets game, and we saw how that ended. And the
Yeah.
49ers were in control the entire time. And I think
Mhm.
just trying to put an emphasis on that would be beneficial. And I think they have a really good job to be able to control the game in that sense against the Dolphins this Sunday.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I think the defense has more of a I don't want to say tougher challenge, but they have more on their plate just because they have expectations to meet. I know the offensive side of the ball also has expectations, but we can't expect much from them. So that's why I'll focus on the defense for this week. That's what I'll watch the most.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that wraps up our news coverage for the week and our Pats Dolphins combo. Well, you guys, when we go live again next week, might have something special for you guys. We'll see about that. But thank you all for tuning in. You can find me at NSPGS on Twitter. Carlos, you can find him at Los Talks Pats, right under our faces here.
Mhm.
But thank you guys for tuning in. We really appreciate you guys listening to us rant about this team. And yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you guys.
Thank you guys.